Okay, so what is the best designed monster in the whole monsterverse? I'll give you a minute. Did you land on Godzilla or King Kong? I'm willing to challenge that by talking about a giant sea creature most of you might not even know.
Wait for it. Here it comes. Almost there.
That was designed just like a kaiju. So who is that creature? And more important than that, why does she matter? The name is Titan X, and where she's from is a place we know almost nothing about, the ocean. The deep part, down where the light stops. There's something interesting about that, which is very relevant for this video. We've laid eyes on something like 0.001% of the deep ocean floor. Round that off and it's basically just zero. It's the single biggest unexplored place on the whole planet. Thus, we're still pulling new things out of it constantly. 2,000 new sea species get named every year. One of the biggest recent ones was the colossal squid. We've known it existed since 1925. And you wanna know how we found out? We cut open a sperm whale and there were bits of squid in the stomach. For 100 years after that, we got maybe a handful of them ever, all dead. No one had ever seen a living one. Then, in 2025, the camera finally caught one alive down there, though it was still pretty young, about only a foot long. Full grown, they get to about 23 feet long, with eyes the size of soccer balls. So hang on to that feeling of both awe and dread you've got. I've made quite a few videos on giant monsters, giant robots, and in them, I have made a case that the best giant monsters are basically just a big version of an animal you already know. Your brain already knows the animal, the movie, or in this case show, takes the idea, scales it up, and hangs on to that reality feeling you've already got. This thing from Monarch kinda breaks that rule because of that deep sea stuff I mentioned earlier. So how do you scale up an animal people barely even know and still keep it feeling real? Well, just look at what they used to build her. The main body is a Portuguese man-o-war, that floating jellyfish thing with the gas bag on top and the stingers trailing down forever underneath. The tentacles come straight off a colossal squid. Yeah, that colossal squid. The face is a moray eel crossed with a crocodile. Or an alligator, nah, somebody's gonna know. There's even a little bit of alien in there. Wait, hang on, alien? That sounds a little strange to use alien when we're talking about, reality and thinking things feel real. Let me go over those parts. The first are the spines. She's got this crown of them coming off the top of her head. Tall and sharp, almost like a headdress. Weird thing to hand to a sea creature, right? Fish don't usually wear crowns. Okay, well, maybe you could call the fins a crown. Either way, they're from the alien queen. Not like aliens in general, but that big crest the xenomorph queen wears in Aliens. They transferred that on purpose. I'll explain why in a little bit. Then the little guys swimming around her, the scarabs. Those are a nod to the facehuggers from those same Alien films. Now, getting close on the eyes. Something's off. Each eye's got two pupils in it, doubled up, sort of merged into a lazy sideways 8 or infinity symbol. It's based on a real, rare thing that happens in human eyes. I'll put a photo up on screen here. On Titan X, it just reads wrong. Ancient, in a way, like she's seeing more than you are. So that's the pile so far. Deep sea animals people might not know that well, merged together, a crown, some borrowed alien royalty, and a pair of eyes that look older than they've got any right to be. Then, the show does one thing that snaps it all together. People worship her. There's a whole cult in the show that treats her as a god. They even put a name to her, Hokai, the great god of the sea. Over in Japan, a village goes the other way and calls her yokai, an evil spirit. And this is my favorite bit. The women who could hear her call would wander off toward the water to hear it better, and everyone else figured they'd just gone mad. Have these choices clicked into place yet for you? Well, I'll tell you then. She's built to read as holy. Then they did the same thing Transformers did with the eyes of D16. She glows, mainly through those crown spine things. The color of that glow changes with how she's feeling. When calm, it's a soft blue, almost white, peaceful. When she gets angry or scared or someone pushes her, the whole thing floods red. The VFX team made sure the color is her emotional state. You read her by the light instead of by the face, which is handy because a moray eel crocodile kind of thing gives you not much to work with. As far as I know about moray eels and crocs, maybe someone from Florida will be able to correct me on that one. It also gives a lot more room with how the animators can place the camera position. By using the color, the show can tell you exactly how this thing feels from a mile off, in the dark, underwater, wherever. She comes in blue, you loosen up a bit. That blue starts creeping red, and you tense up a bit yourself because you know what's coming before she's even moved. It's kind of like a rattlesnake in a way. It turns her into something you read like an animal, the way you see a dog's hair on its back going up when it's angry. Now, keep that calm blue in the back of your mind because it's gonna matter way more later than it looks like it does right now. There's a reason her resting state is peaceful and also separates her a bit from the kaiju design we already know. We'll come back for it. First, though, we have to talk about the biggest trick of the design. And if you've watched any other video on this channel, you already know what trick is coming. For a creature they've built this much detail into, they barely let you see her. Is it the smartest move they pulled? I'll let you decide that. To me, the lack of exposure feels scary at times, for however scared I can get from fictional monsters on screens anymore. Horror movies tend to do that a lot more to me. I mean, fun fact, I was very much afraid of The Ring when I was younger. But not from the movie itself. It was from the scary movie parody. Okay, sorry, I wasn't the brightest kid out there. Continuing with the size of Titan X though, I've talked about this before with scale. Your brain can't feel a number. You can't feel 200 feet. What you can feel though is a big thing standing next to a small thing you can conceptualize. So instead of a big reveal, you know what? Just look at what they actually do. There's a Monarch patrol boat. Normal boat, people on it, something you know the size of. Tentacle comes out of the black water, wraps around the whole ship, and just drags it under. Gone. You never see her. You see the boat go down, and your brain does the math of the one thing it could measure, that boat, and fills the rest with something way bigger and worse than anything they could have actually shown you. Even Kong can't get to her. There's a bit where he's chasing her and she just goes deep, drops into the water too deep for him to follow. Speaking of her dropping into water, there's another thing she does that you can only feel.
What do you mean by that?
The sound. Her voice sits below human hearing. When talking, there's this low rumble under everything, and your ears can't pick most of it up. In the show, it takes Monarch a good while to even work out that that's what's going on. Keiko and Shaw are the ones who finally notice it, that she keeps reacting to sound sitting way under the range you or I could ever hear. It's a plot point that changes the whole show. Remember those women from earlier? The ones in the Japanese village who'd wander off toward the water and everyone thought they just lost it? Turns out they could just hear something the rest of us can't. Her call is out there in the water the whole time. Kate hears it, but others are standing next to a giant singing animal and hearing dead silence. Even her little scarabs run on it. When one of them's in trouble, it lets out this sonic cry, sharp enough to disorient whatever's hearing it, strong enough to snuff out a small flame. And no matter where she is, she turns around and comes for it. Just watch. There's a bit where a single scarab has stowed away on a Monarch ship, sends out one little pulse, and then this enormous thing swings straight back toward the boat to go get it. One sound. She changes course for just one sound. That's one hell of a committed deep-sea jellyfish, crocodile, moray, eel, alien thingy. The sound hands Monarch the only way that actually works on her. You're not out-muscling something this big, obviously. So how do you move her? Well, there's this sequence where she's bearing down on a shipping lane packed with vessels, 20 minutes out. And instead of reaching for weapons, Keiko and her son Hiroshi start tearing a drone apart to fake the Titan's own subsonic call, trying to lure her into chasing a sound off into a safer direction. It doubles as this quiet mother-son moment while the clock's ticking. It doesn't fully land that time. She sniffs out the fake and wrecks the drone, but the idea sticks. And right at the very end, they use a recording of her actual call to reach her when absolutely nothing else can get through. Even though that kind of fails with the wires, but whatever. And this is where it loops back to the thing I go on about constantly on this channel. Wait. The best giant monsters you can feel in your body a half second before your eyes catch up. The cups of water shaking on the dashboard before you ever see the T-Rex in Jurassic Park. That certainly happens with Titan X as well. On top of that, she moves through that water at over 40 knots, which for something her size is, I'm gonna let you decide on this one. Do you think her speed breaks the scale and makes her feel kind of weightless? Let me know in the comments. Continuing on though, everything so far has been building toward one question the show sits on the whole time. What does she actually want? It's not like a kaiju that wants to wipe out humanity and colonize it or something. Turns out the thing she wants has nothing to do with us at all. She's on a migration, a set route she swims around the Pacific, and she runs it roughly every 15 years. Same stops each lap. Past Japan, past Nile off Chile, then back to a deep place to basically hibernate until the next go around. She's been doing this loop since long before anyone at Monarch was born. As far as she's concerned, she's just passing through, on a route she's swum 1,000 times before we even noticed her. The only reason any of it turns into a problem is that some people accidentally wake her up years early and knock her off the route. Everything she does after that is a very large animal trying to get back on schedule, alongside her scarab ecosystem. That calm blue glow from earlier, you remember? I said it was going to be important. This is why her default is peaceful. Her entire deal is to migrate, look after her scarabs, and go back to sleep. She was never the aggressor. But then you ask yourself, who actually is the aggressor? Every single time this thing turns violent in the show, you can trace it straight back to a person doing something to her. A company called Apex wants to control her, so they fire a probe full of electrodes into her, trying to jack into her nervous system and drive her around like a car. It doesn't even work. She's too big. The signal won't take. All it does is hurt her. And as a result, she flattens their camp. They shocked her, so she wrecked them. Cause and effect. Later, another crew does the same thing. It staples a load of these control implants onto her while she's knocked out and cranks her aggression up on purpose to point her at Kong, giving us that big Titan on Titan brawl everyone wants. But none of that was her own choice. And under all of that, she laid an egg. She's a mother. Somebody steals her egg, flies it off in a helicopter, and everything she does from there is her chasing it down. She breaks off a fight with Godzilla for it, even with a machine screaming in her head, making her attack Kong. The moment she spots that egg, some part of her fights through the implant and shuts it off herself. Motherhood beat the mind control. Nobody else managed it. And that's where the show goes broader than entertainment. It was never about a monster. Neither was Godzilla, which you'd know if you watched my other video. The original, back in 1954, that was the atomic bomb. Radiation and fallout given a body, made by the one country that had actually lived through it. That's what these things have always been for. A mirror. The Titans are nature itself. And we're the ones who keep messing around, waking it up, trying to put a leash on it, and acting shocked when it turns around on us. We do this for real outside of shows. We find something wild and huge and old, and the first thing we do is reach for a way to tag it, cage it, or drain the tank it lives in, and take its young, or work out what it's worth to us. It's what every aquarium or zoo is running on. Then we act shocked when the thing we backed into a corner just does what an animal does. Like Tilikum, the famous orca in captivity, killed what, like 3 people? Is that really its fault? I felt like Titan X is that same idea. She's one animal, a mother, minding her own business on a path she's swum for thousands of years, and the villains of her story are a company that wants to own her and a woman who'll tear her family apart to do it. This was always a show about people. Sorry, but we are the monsters. Kate, the one we mentioned earlier that can understand Titan X, can feel what the creature feels, and she uses it right at the end to calm her down and steer her back toward home, back onto that migration route she got knocked off of. And just before Titan X goes, she reaches out one of those massive tentacles, the same kind that dragged a whole boat under a few episodes ago, and she just touches Kate's hand as a gentle thank you. And then she's gone. Back down to the ocean in the part that we've never seen. So what do you think? Is Titan X a well-designed giant underwater creature? Is it better than other MonsterVerse ones? How about you let me know in the comments? And if you want to see the wrong side of this effect, but with giant robots, I pulled that whole thing apart right here. Click over there and come find out.